I think those of us who have been able to transform are probably really happy we did. And for people who don't need to transform, God bless you.
I was taught that sexuality was about pain. It wasn't intended as suffering, but that's what I learned, was that women were, women were meant to suffer. Men had pleasure, and you had to give men pleasure, I was taught.
For the most part, I probably feel more sexually, more sexually and spiritually grounded, complete, fuller than I probably ever have in my life. My grandmother had asked me, she said, "Angela, what do you want to be when you grow up?" And I said, 5 years old, sort of zipping around the living room, having a great time. And I said to my grandmother, who was sort of showing off, I think, for her friends or uncles and cousins and what have you, showing off the granddaughter. And I looked at my grandmother and I said, "I want to be a boy because boys can kiss girls." It probably didn't occur to me until later on that I had sort of done this thing that maybe shouldn't have been done, or sort of owned up to something that I should never have owned up to, especially not in front of people. But I think, like, looking back now, it's one of my favorite stories. It's like it is my coming out story in some ways.
I realized that I was erotically complete. I realized
once you were alone.
Yes,
Oh.
I realized, and it took me time. It wasn't immediate.
Yeah.
But I started to realize that my erotic happiness came from inside of me. One of the strengths about identifying ourselves as mermaids is because it helps us to realize that actually transformation can sort of happen magically and in a kind of almost like ethereal underwater way. Truth is, they weren't looking where they were going. But anyway, this all gets blamed on the poor mermaids. But actually, I like to think of it differently. I like to think that the mermaid is singing to herself because singing gives her pleasure, incredible pleasure, and that she doesn't care. She's not trying to attract a mate. She's not trying to attract anyone. She's enjoying her sexuality. She's enjoying her sensuality, and she's getting in touch with that. And that makes you really attractive. And I like to think of that myth as showing that we're all responsible for our own course. But when we look to ourselves in love, what we give out to the world is love. Sailors who have no control.
A really good lesson for everyone is you don't necessarily need to begin this transformation with someone in bed next to you. It's something that can be just as easily explored, maybe even more easily explored alone. And if you take your time and you go at your own speed, everything's a lot more comfortable, a lot more fluid.
When we climax, when we orgasm, when we read erotica, when we have fantasies, we are being authentic. That's us at our most authentic. I feel like that's what the Mermaid Voyage is all about. The Mermaid Voyage isn't saying you need to be single, and it isn't saying you need to be partnered.
Right.
It's saying you need to be you. Yes?
Today's affirmation is,
What the fuck is today's affirmation?
I am pure, loving, sexual energy.
Brilliant. Shall we do this?
Yes.